You guys really seem to enjoy episode 1 of Made for Love, so we're going to keep on breaking it down. In the last episode, we were introduced to Byron and Hazel Gogol and their not so normal life. We found out that without her knowing, Byron installed the Made for Love chip into Hazel. He now has access to everything she sees and hears. Before the episode ended, Hazel made it to her childhood home where she saw her dad in bed with a sex doll. This is when she passed out and the screen went to black. Episode 2 starts out with a really dope scene. We see just how Hazel got the chip installed. They do it in a very artistic way. This scene is beautiful and totally insane. Hazel is served a drug beverage which knocks her out. A team of doctors come out with a robot arm apparatus and they tie her down. The surgery begins with one of them shaving a small bit of hair off. We don't get to see the entire surgery, the camera pans out just as they do the first incision. The screen goes to black and Hazel wakes up, and we're back in the present day. Hazel is back on her parents' couch and seems to be safe, at least for the moment. Her dad even made some spaghetti. Ray Romano could probably cook the shit out some sketties, bro. Hazel tries to ignore the temptation of Italian food and is only concerned with her father's plane, which we found out was sold. We also get a brief introduction to her dad's new lover, Diane, who happens to be made out of some sort of rubber byproduct. Hazel and her dad's reunion isn't as happy as you would think. They haven't seen each other in 10 years, but they definitely have some unresolved issues. Hazel informs her dad that she left Byron, and her dad starts to kind of blame her. He tells her that she should lower her standards of happiness. After catching her pops up a bit, they have a bit of a blowout, which leads to Hazel storming out with a shotgun.
Your dick is out. It's out, it's right there.
Hazel sets out towards the family that the father sold the plane to, the Vosses. From the sounds of it, it's a family that grew up close by. It's like a small town type of vibe. As she is making her way, she starts to think about Byron and all the horrors of her recent life. This is soon interrupted by an incoming car driven by Herringbone. You might not recognize him without his fingers, but don't worry, he has them with him. In a Ziploc bag, of course. Where else would you have your fingers? Hazel is of course scared seeing her crazy husband's business partner. From this encounter, we find out that Hazel has been user 1 for 3 days now. Herringbone tries to convince Hazel that Byron found out he was helping Hazel and ended up wiping all of his accounts, his social security, everything as a result of this. He tells Hazel he can help her, but she has to put a bag over her head and hop in his trunk first.
Your plan is to put a bag over my head and throw me in a trunk?
Hazel, of course, doesn't believe this and blasts him with the boomstick. She grabs the bag of fingers to use them to start the car, but unfortunately that didn't work, so Hazel is forced to flee by foot. Luckily, her father and Diane, the sex doll, followed them and was close by to scoop her up. We then cut to Byron and we see that he's been watching and listening this entire time. He's still on his way to the small town when he has a flashback to when Hazel surprised him with a birthday party. The couple seem to be pretty happy at a time. Byron tells Hazel this is the first time anybody's thrown him a birthday party, which is a little sad and explains his weird behavior. His childhood probably wasn't pleasant. The flashback ends with Hazel smashing a piñata with Byron's face on it, and we are back to Hazel and her father. The two of them have a pretty funny exchange here. She puts a bag over her head to conceal the plan, but her dad brings up the point that it probably has a GPS, and it would probably be the first thing that they've added. They pull up to a bar which just so happens to be having a rodeo night. Before they go in, he lets Hazel know he's kind of the town pervert now and to expect stares. They go here to meet with Ma Voss and her boys. As her dad is negotiating for the plane, Hazel has yet another flashback to her youth. Hazel has to come get her dad who passed out at the bar overnight. Through this, we find out that her mother died, and this is probably the reason her dad is getting drunk and spending his time with a sex doll. He tells her that she can drive them to go get pancakes, and they kind of kid around a bit before the flashback ends. The bartender asks what she wants and does this in a charming way. It cuts back to Byron, who's closely monitoring this. Some red lines appear on the screen that he's watching, and his team tells him that means she's aroused. We cut back to the bar where Ma Voss agreed to let Hazel use the plane if Hazel's dad can beat her son on the mechanical bull. Hazel's dad is the current champ and her son wants a chance at the title. After a very inspiring speech, he is instantly tossed from the bull. Hazel takes this opportunity to grab her father's keys. Before she can take off, she sees one of the Voss boys stealing Diane out of the vehicle, which leads her to chase them down an alleyway when the bartender from before intervenes. Hazel again is visibly turned on by his heroic actions. The bartender leaves and the father returns to find Diane and his daughter in the alleyway. She lets him know that she was the one that took his keys, and they all make their way back home, only to find Byron and his team have beat them there. Her dad offers to drive away, but Hazel decides to face it head on. She goes inside to find Byron sitting in front of a TV playing a live feed of what she is seeing. He states that he thought they were happy, but as we've seen, Hazel wasn't happy, and she tells Byron this, and she also tells him that she wants a divorce. The camera zooms out and we see the absurdity of this, and we see the repeating image on the television screen, and this is how episode 2 ends. Thank you guys so much. I am already working on episode 3, so I promise that will come out a whole lot sooner. After episode 3, I'm going to probably start combining episodes to make it a little bit easier for me and a little bit more convenient for you guys as well. They'll be coming a whole lot quicker though. Thank you guys so much again. Laters on the Minjay.